Well, some additional thoughts on Earl Sweatshirt. And rather than doing three individual videos for the Super Friday reaction that I did, this is going to do it in one. And I have to say up front early on, I don't think this will be a great additional thoughts video because unfortunately for me, over the weekend, I was pretty much offline all weekend. So over the weekend, I don't think I got any listens in. Sunday I did. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But it kind of sucks because it's hard when there's multiple projects, obviously, even though they're shorter and they loop pretty easily and stuff like that. I just didn't really get to spend enough time with each project to kind of discern the three from each other. I mean, I know the rap songs and Don't Like Shit. Those are two very distinct albums in my mind. Of course, they keep the same Earl sound, but and then Solace, I think I only got one more listen off of that. Anyway, all that to say, I wish I could have had more time with each one. But at the same time, it was neat in the sense that I spent a lot of time with Earl over the week. And I'm kind of glad that I did, because if I would have just done one album, or maybe I guess maybe the two, Don't Like Shit and Rap Songs, if I would have done those two, that would have worked. But throwing Solace in there and having all three together and really just bouncing around between the two and hearing him and getting comfortable with him, because honestly with Doris, during the reaction and that week that I spent with Doris, I enjoyed it. But I remember going back to it a couple times after, like some months later, and not really like clicking with it. So I'm glad I spent time with all three of these projects together, because now I kind of appreciate Doris more. Now I feel like I appreciate Earl more, understand him more. I get why there are people who are not into him. They think he's kind of boring, or what was another thing that somebody said? Like he's doing his best to be like MF Doom impersonations or some shit. I don't know. I get why people don't like it. And a big part of it, I think, for me, or just in general, is its setting and its mood and it's where you are kind of in your day or in your life or whatever. And this comes up. So on Sunday, when we got home after our weekend and we were doing all this stuff, I went for a jog. I went for a 6-mile run. And I actually did pretty well. It was like, I think I averaged, it was under 11 minutes per mile for my average overall. The last couple miles were slow as shit, but my average was pretty good. And when I took off on that run, I put on some rap songs and I set it to repeat. And I think I got two full listens on some rap songs. And what was cool about that was the kind of oddness of the album, some of the, I don't want to say disjointedness. It's just it's different. You guys who've listened to it, you understand what I'm talking about. And I was even saying during the reaction, it was hard to get into. And a lot of people left comments about how it takes multiple listens and it takes a while for it to click. There was something about listening to it while I was jogging and kind of tired and pushing myself a little bit. And my mental state, it's like it altered my brain waves a little bit. I just stopped paying attention to kind of everything. Wasn't really paying attention to my legs or my lungs or the music or the heat or anything. I was just kind of existing in its just weird state. And it was honestly kind of cool. And there's something neat about the album, how it wraps up with Riot. Because Riot almost like, not aggressively, but just gently wakes you up from that daze a little bit. You kind of go, oh, okay. And I remember after the second run through, I was like, okay, I switched over to I Don't Like Shit and I'll go outside. It's going. And I got to Faucet, which I think is track 3. And holy shit, because at that point I was on I had completed 5 miles. I was on mile 6 and I was hurting. I was getting like, my hip was hurting. I was tired and everything, right? And so being in that state and feeling that way, I don't want to do this anymore. It just clicked. And I was like, wow, this is really not surprising, but I think more so impressive of how much it just sunk in. And right then and there, and I talked about this during the reaction, and people have left messages saying the same thing. It kind of depends on your mood and where you are and all this other stuff. And sometimes it's tough listening to these albums on a Friday morning when I feel good. It's a nice day. It's sunny. it just doesn't have that mood, right? I think I even said the same thing on Heroes and Villains. Like, it needs to just be dark. Nighttime and low lighting and stuff like that. VooDoo, I said that. And so to experience Fawcett in that like altered state, because I can't smoke, unfortunately. And I think smoking is a big part of Earl Sweatshirt and his music and what he does and how it comes out and how you process it as a listener. I don't think necessarily intentionally, but it weaves into the experience. So to be exhausted and tired and almost, I don't want to say like nonsensical, but just I don't care anymore, almost apathetic to my own self at that point, to hear Fawcett. And then of course it goes into Grief, and then it goes into Off Top. And I actually didn't even finish the album during the run because I ended up listening to Fawcett like 4 times in a row or 3 times in a row. I just looped it. I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly how I feel. And in a weird way, it helped me keep my pace, even though my pace wasn't that good at that point. Because we just like fucking joined. It just linked up perfectly. Anyway, that's long ass story about Fawcett. Mostly to say though, that I think for those of you who don't enjoy Earl, or those of you who do, it's because you've had that kind of experience one way or another, whether it's emotional distress, or you're just fucking lonely or apathetic, or you don't feel like whatever reason, right? It's kind of the same thing with Blonde by Frank Ocean. It's just got to click just right. And then when it does, it's a totally different experience. So I love Fawcett. Love Fawcett. Same thing though with Wool. The album concludes kind of on an upbeat. And I like that about Earl in the sense of he's going through all this shit. He's kind of dragging you with him. You can just be there. There was a great comment I saw about how he doesn't really write in a cohesive, specific way. It's almost just flow of consciousness, and whatever his thoughts are is what he writes down. And over time, as you pay attention to it, it starts to bleed together and make sense in this weird abstract way rather than a direct way that we're so used to. I forgot where I was going with all that, but just incredible. And so, I don't know, it's been a fun week in the sense of I've enjoyed the music. I've enjoyed listening to it. I've enjoyed wrestling with it, clicking with it, but then also realizing, okay, Earl's not my favorite, and that's fine. He's not, it doesn't have to be, it's okay. But even though, I might not listen to this very often, it does now exist in a very special, specific place. And it's cool because sometimes you need that kind of music. Like, yeah, I don't listen to it often, but when I need it, it's perfect and it's there and it does the trick of what I need it to do. Whether it's Earl, whether it's, Drake, whether it's whatever, metal, a bunch of fucking screaming and banging drums, shit, whatever it is. It's there and it does the job that it needs to do. I saw this great note about some rap songs and how some people refer to it as sad villainy. That is fucking fantastic. Oh God, I was laughing pretty hard when I saw that. Sad villainy. A lot of comments about how some rap songs is a grower, and I definitely experienced that. I don't think I've gotten to that stage of, because a lot of people said that they hated it at first and then it slowly became their favorite of all time in some situations. I'm not there yet, but it is just, it's like a mix of Mad Villainy and Donuts and Keeping the Curtains Closed. Just this weird, dark, cool beats, but strange. And he's saying some stuff, but it's almost apathetic. And anyway, there you go. That Nickel verse off of DNA. I didn't realize it was his brother, like literally his brother who died. And he got the phone call while he was in the studio and then went in and did no wonder the music just drops. Like, I can only imagine that he was still in shock, I suppose. I don't know how to process that one. That's a wild little factoid about that album and that track. And I guess that's kind of it. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of notes. If you were watching the Patreon reaction and watching the video reaction, there was a lot of comments about the hands on the video for Nowhere, Nobody, I think. And what they meant, some people were saying maybe it's his father's hands and influence. And I was thinking later maybe it's supposed to represent his grandma's hands because he has that line about every time he looks at his hands, he sees his grandma's hands and he cries. The flag on the coffin being from South Africa, I believe, which is where his dad was from. Learning about how, you know, his relationship with his dad, how his dad died early, and they couldn't resolve their strain in the relationship. Just all kinds of shit. Just learning about Earl, man. Interesting dude. Interesting dude. Odd, but I like that because you get some music you don't find anywhere else from these just odd, strange, withdrawn people. I did not get to watch the interview with, I guess it's him and his mom. They're sitting down and giving like this weird lecture interview for an hour or so. I still need to watch that. I want to. Overall, though, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy the experience of just spending a lot of time with Earl Sweatshirt and his music, trying to figure it out. A lot of stuff still way over my head. But I do like the fact that some people said, you know, the more you listen to it, every now and then you just catch a line and you catch a line. And I've been having that experience of just every now and then catching a line and realizing, oh, this relates to like 5 or 6 lines ago and so on. Yeah, so there you go. Tomorrow is week 2 of Bob's Underground Artist Gauntlet. So we got 5 new artists, each with 2 tracks for 10 songs that are all pretty damn good in my opinion. That's 7 p.m. Pacific on YouTube tomorrow. And I think Friday is going to be Riding Dirty, Underground Kings. I believe so. You know, some people have been saying the Billy Woods album, the new one, is really good. But not a lot of push for that. Just like a gentle push for that. Sounds like the Destroy Lonely album was not necessarily amazing. It sounded like it was, you know, it's cool for what it is, but it's 90 minutes of the same thing. That's generally what I saw in terms of what people were saying. Haven't heard of anything else new coming this week, so I think for now, unless something sudden emerges, we'll do Riding Dirty by Underground Kings, which will be cool. Been wanting to do that for a while. Looking forward to some Southern style. And yeah, I guess that's it. Hope you all take care, and we will see you soon.